So sending you all some warm, positive vibrations. So just wanted to touch on um, something I think that could be very valuable. There are many folks that may have not had a direct experience with a con artist, a con man, a con person, and a pattern of cults manipulators. But in particular, this is the distinction of a cult. At some point, they will likely name you and give you a name. Now, uh, in many of our traditions and Afro traditions, we are given names at birth. In some parts of our tradition, there the parents may wait for a few days before they name the child. In the Afro American tradition, the Afro people in Americas, we may name the child after an ancestor, a parent, or someone. But usually, we name our children intentionally. In a cult, a pattern is quite often they will rename you. And there are many that look forward to the ritual of being named. It is part of the groupthink, and many people in cults, and this is something that's very natural, want to belong to something. So for the new members coming into something, looking at the older members, it's like a pecking order, and you want to belong. So you can't wait. You can't wait to be given a name. So the frame of reference for a young adult or a young person is going to be different from someone with more life experience. And we can see and we can know why usually cults want to recruit young people and young adults that are looking for something that may feel like they are in the outs. A term that was used with myself and my family, we were told, you're most likely your oddballs. There are all kinds of language that we use. But there is a psychology and a technique to the renaming, and everything is about context. In the cult, what they want to do is to erase your memory. Now, from your frame of reference and being very green, you're looking at it as a positive. It's a new start. Now I have a name just like the rest of the members of of the cult. So now I belong and I have something special too. I have a frame of reference. You start to dissociate and disassociate yourself with your previous family, and now the cult becomes your new family. Many of us may not consider the implications, right? What this does to your psyche when someone else is giving you a name. It's not the same as if you chose something for yourself, but when somebody else is choosing it for you, the meaning of the name. In this environment, the cult leader gave one of my family members a name. At some point, everyone is given a name. You may even notice with cults, they can rename you and rename themselves numerous times. So that is for the outside purposes, so folks can't recognize them, but it's also to control the psyche. And doing some research, I just came across something, the meaning of my name, and I was very intentional with giving my offspring a name when I was pregnant as a young woman. And this cult leader had the nerve and the audacity to tell me his interpretation of what my name and my offspring, my child, now adult child, what their name meant. And, entrusting a elder and their wisdom and basically giving them carte blanche on wisdom, even though, I have common sense, but entrusting the elder. I hear people talk about elders, and I have great respect for elders. I have great respect for people. But dig it, this father figure, this elder, and this researcher giving them the authority and them being in the position of authority, acquiescing and submitting to them. They basically told me what my family name meant and what my son's name meant. Now, I know how purposeful I was in choosing that name and the meaning of the name. And so, in trusting the elder, okay, a new phase of life, I understand we take on names, but it did not set right with me. And they did not want to tell me the meaning of the name. But what they did tell me, he told me, this so called elder, the so called high priest, basically, that my name meant the devil, Set or Satan, all this other stuff. So you got to be careful with all of this, this spin on rhetoric, the spin on nature, and other people's interpretations. And what I hope folks can take from this small, short video is to have faith in yourself. This is one of the biggest lessons. That's why I keep this channel up. It is so much bigger than this individual because there are lessons to be learned from the cult activity on a small scale, a grand scale in the Afro community. The lesson is when you are placing, no matter how many problems or challenges, perceived challenges or real challenges you have in your life, when you place your life and the responsibility for making decisions into somebody else's hands who you are deeming the expert, you will likely have no idea of their agenda for your life. You may be coming for counsel, help with your problems, direction. Some of these things are very natural. You seek the advice, wisdom of elders, but you have to be very careful in this day and time. Because the fact is, whether we like it or not, we have a lot of predators and manipulators that will see your vulnerabilities, that will see your wounds, that will see that you may be in a life crisis, or see that you may be having challenges, which is natural with your mate or with your family, trying to figure things out. And you don't perceive that you are going to be taken advantage of. You don't realize, right? In your desperation, in your naivete, in your blind trust, in the absence of a thorough vetting process, you can't comprehend from your limited vision what the agenda is for your life. And you may be going into it very idealistic. I'm a very idealistic person. But life and experience in this cult has taught me something that perhaps I did not want to see, and maybe many of us don't want to see. We want to be so idealistic that we don't want to accept where deviancy lies in all skin colors. We don't want to accept that people that we place on pedestals, what they have the capacity to do. We only want to see the quote unquote good. We don't want to recognize that there's a flip side of that coin, and that's something, it just exists. It just is. It doesn't need a story. It just is. We romanticize people. We romanticize the continent. We romanticize, sometimes even as a coping mechanism. So interesting, this morning, as I just did a little research on this little creature that is a symbol of my name, and as I'm watching this little creature, which is a dung beetle, as I watched it in nature, I was like, wow. I looked at the brilliance of this creature, similar to when I'm in the garden, and if I watch the moths or the caterpillars or the butterflies, right? Being in the garden all the time, you get to observe these creatures and their behavior. Same thing with ants, right? You get to see the brilliance and the focus of ants. So right now, if I called myself an ant, right? Because I really have tremendous respect for ants from watching them in the garden and seeing all different types of ants. What I respect about the ant is the ant's tenacity, their focus, their determination. You try to knock them off track and they come right back, their teamwork. So if I name myself Ant, I'm very clear on why I am choosing that name and what it represents for me. So when you have somebody else, an elder or a high priest or a cult leader who you are bowing and acquiescing to, it's something with your psyche. When they are taking away and they are compromising, you are allowing them to compromise your trust in yourself. You are allowing them to compromise your faith and your decision making and your trust in yourself. You lose your trust in yourself. We get enough of that in the outside world where we don't see ourselves represented in movies and in media. So we have to tell our own story, not just as a collective, but as individuals. We have our own experience, and they will wipe away the slate, and wipe it clean. It's equivalent to giving yourself a lobotomy, and we're putting our trust and our faith in other people. And we've been set up and programmed to do this, right? Context is everything. I recommend folks take 110% responsibility for your life, because these cult icons and personalities, they have their own problems, they have their own issues, they have their own vices. They have their money problems. They have their own sexual hangups, sexual deviancies. There's so much of a vetting process because we're so enamored with their gift of gab, and we love their outfits and the what we see of unity. You don't know these people. They're human beings. They're human beings. We have a tendency to put human beings on a pedestal, and we're so in love with the divine and the other worlds and the afterlife that a lot of times we're not dealing with the life that we have in front of us in 3D right now. Right? They have us romanticizing on we don't need money, but when you go to the gas station, you have to put gas in your car. So they pick and choose. They'll have you totally confused. They'll have you totally confused on basic sense, basic common sense, constantly getting in your brain to have you thinking and second guessing that you don't understand what it is that you're seeing. You're seeing something being played out before you, but you don't really understand the divinity of what you're seeing. You don't really understand. You can't trust yourself to interpret what you see unfolding right before you. I encourage you. If you've got issues in your life, you can clean it up. You can really make the effort to clean it up. You can clean it up, face it, and clean it up on your own. Be careful when you go asking people, even elders, to help you fix your problems, because they've got problems, financial problems on their own. And a lot of times you will be used. You are asking to be used. You're asking to be used. You're volunteering yourself to be used when you put your total trust in someone else who you don't know. You don't know these people, these human beings. They might have some positive features about them. All human beings do, but we also have the capacity for deviancy, scamming, manipulating. Trust yourself. So I'll move forward with saying this. And just watching this morning that National Geographic, this little clip on this dung beetle, and watching its behavior, I really had to just really sit and like, wow, just trusting in myself, what I saw and what I saw in my interpretation and what this dung beetle represented for me, which for me, it represents, as you watch this little beetle, right, rolling its eggs and dungs, what it represented for me is pushing yourself through shitey situations, through doo-doo situations. In the garden, you have compost, right? It can break down, and then it puts new nutrients back into the plant so that my fruits and vegetables in my garden are sweeter. So I was able to interpret that on my own. And these cults will have you thinking, they will tell you literally that you don't have the capacity to make decisions for yourself. Grown adults, they will tell you that you don't have the capacity or the experience, that you're not qualified. I was told you're not qualified to make certain decisions. I don't know everything. But the mind game that they do on you. And so just watching in nature, when you watch certain things in nature and you have experiences, they're not up for debate. And as I said on this channel, my experience is not up for debate. I don't ask for validation. I don't need an amen corner. It's just one woman sharing my experience. Hopefully this could help deter somebody from being in a cult and encourage people to activate a vetting process and to have faith in yourself and to develop critical thinking skills and to ask questions. And when you can't get a straight answer and people have a problem with you asking questions, that's most likely some place where you don't want to open your psyche, your panties, your purse, your pocketbook, because you're asking to be used. You have the capacity to face your life's challenges and to clean it up and to enact self-discipline. I've said it before, you don't need somebody, a guru, to tell you to eat fruits and vegetables, to tell you to love yourself and your hair and your skin. These are things and challenges you will overcome on your own. You have the ability to do that. Trust in your ability to do that. Trust in your ability to face things that perhaps you were running away from or that you didn't want to deal with, right? You won't break. You can clean certain things up and you can make amends in your life. You don't need a guru to do that. You don't need to put all your resources in somebody else. If you don't know how to do something, you can research it. You can figure it out for yourself. You can travel to another country. You can buy land. Even if you don't know anything about it, you can take your time and research it rather than putting your life in someone else's hands. So with that, I want to say, name yourself. And before you put your trust in someone, a vetting process is necessary. A vetting process, a vetting, that's a background check, not just from the police. That's on cross-referencing their character, and even after you cross-reference their character, it takes time to get to know who people are. Take your time, a year, 2 years. You don't know people really until you have lived with them. But we're so badly wanting to see something, so desperate to see something, and I get it. It's not wrong in and of itself, but it may be very unrealistic, being very idealistic, especially as females, as women, men too, because they come and deal with men and manipulate men in a certain way and women in a certain way. Really tapping into our vulnerabilities. But I invite you to trust yourself, do the work that you need to do, even if it's difficult, and that will help you to cultivate trust in yourself. If everyone is competing to capitalize off of our lack and trust in ourselves, chocolate and vanilla. So with that, you're invited to keep your thinking cap on, and I invite you to create a great day on purpose because you said so. And there's so much confidence there are lessons to be learned if we can move past just being so entertained by being voyeurs, right? And looking at the lives of others, right? Is for us to get into action around what we say is important to us in our lives. All right, y'all, create a great day on purpose.